मुद्दों को टच किया और मैं ये समझ पाया कि इसमें ढेर सारी बातें उभर के आई जो हमारे लिए ट्रेनिंग के विषय बनेंगे और आने वाले दिनों में हम आपकी ज़रूर मदद की अपेक्षा करते हैं और इस दिशा में हमें आप ट्रेनिंग दोगे। इसके बाद मैं आज के जो विशिष्ट अतिथि न्यायमूर्ति वी कनक राज, इन्हें आमंत्रित करता हूँ कि वो इस सदन के सामने अपने विचार रखें। आई रिक्वेस्ट जस्टिस वी कनक राज टू प्रेजेंट हिज एड्रेस।
Respected President of this illustrious inaugural session of the three-day convention that is going to be in vogue, not only prolonging today, but also for tomorrow and day after. And the various topics on which this convention is going, the sessions, the various sessions, more than 10, are going to be conducted are very much useful to the society and particularly for this illustrious organization, Musnivali Bahujan Samaj. In fact, I was unaware of the great things that are happening in this institution for the last 28 years, since it has not made its impact, I must admit, in the southern region, particularly southernmost region of the country. And it is Dr. Chauhan who got me introduced to this illustrious institution, which is working hard in the last 30 years for the majority members of the society in this country, but poor and needy, made poor by the minuscule minority called the upper castes. I must initially thank the organizers of this function, the President, the Secretary, the Chief Guest, Professor Nadeem Hasnain, Mr. S.S. Dhammi, the President of this function today, and all other participants who are learned professors, educationists, and those who have exhibited exemplary career and courage in different fields of the country. It is heartening to note that such an activity is going on, being participated by the delegates very actively, all these years, and which I should also follow suit hereafter. Man is born free, but I find him everywhere in chains, said Rousseau, which paved the way. That was said as the first sentence of his immortal work, thesis, that is, the social contract, which paved the way for the French Revolution. And answering the question raised by Rousseau, man is born free, but I find him everywhere in chains. Why is he so? Is the question raised. And answering this call, it was Karl Marx who came forward and put it as the last sentence of his thesis, Das Kapital. Workers of the world unite. You will lose nothing but your chains. And so far as those two awakening, which were the popular awakening of most of the people of those countries, particularly in France and in Russia, which paved the way for two big revolutions, which cost the lives of millions and millions of people. And what were the results of those revolutions? Is the point that is to be considered. In order to put a tyrant king, French Revolution was started. He was put down. The kingship was demolished. And all the clan and followers were destroyed. What for? Within a few years, I must say within a decade, it was 1789 French Revolution. 1889, 1890, 95 and all, Napoleon became the dictator and became the king also as a crowned king. But for the name, change of name, everything was the same. So why should they conduct such a big revolution and put down the order without having some ideas about the future? So the far-reaching ideas must be there for every organization or awakening or teaching or revolution or anything of that sort, agitation is concerned. Without the goal to be achieved, there is no point in following any edict or aim. Now the point is, coming faster, it was within a decade or two, the ideals of French Revolution became bleak, became a void. And the Russian Revolution lasted for 50 years, as you know. Now it is a forgotten factor. Marxism is a forgotten factor. So they were not evolved. They came out of the mind of some authors And the people, without knowing as to what is the dimension or structure that they are going to give for their ideas, and how the transformation of power is to be effected from the have-nots to the haves, from the haves to the have-nots. They must be definite about their achievement. After all, history has taught us many lessons. Lane Paul a noted historian, British historian of the Indian history, who so beautifully wrote his thesis writing the history of India as it had been. Lord Macaulay, who wrote the British history, he gives a very clear picture of the state of affairs that were prevalent 1,000 years back, and how everything got transformed into this part of the globe so far as the placement of the people of different races and different parts of the world, and how this part of the country was placed some 100 years back, that would give a very clear picture. Now, having taken the background of the history, this part of the globe which is called Indian now has been ruled by thousands of Rajas, kings, Maharajas, and whatever they laid down was the law, all in one. Executive, legislature, and judiciary. He made the law, he executed the law, and he enforced the law. There was no second thought or second opinion that could be uttered. And then how? By the foreign rulers, most of the parts of this country was captured and ruled over. And of course, it was the time when man did not have the knowledge about the people's rule at all. And then the British came, and the British, from the social point of view, they did nothing. They were keen about ruling the country and even accepting those Rajas, princes and others. We could imagine they were in thousands, and by various laws and rules and regulations, such as doctrine of lapse and other things, attributing some reason, the British used to annex the territories of the princes. Say, for example, if the ruling prince doesn't have a male child, that state would be annexed with the British India. Like that, attributing some fake reasons they annexed the better part of the country into one. And in fact, it is the British who just gave the impetus, gave the way for us to get united, showed the way for us to get united. Or otherwise I would be singing some song in some part of Tamil Nadu, and our brothers would be doing something, doing their traditional work in other part without knowing each other. Now the point is, unless man gets united in large numbers, he cannot make out a state or nation or a country even. And in order to curb the inequalities in the society, having achieved the goal of oneness so far as the territorial integrity of this part of the globe is concerned, we have done. Nehru, as the concluding sentence of his immortal work, that is Discovery of India, writes, man's dearest possession is life. Since it is given to him to live but once, he must so live. This is the fundamental and basic thing that is to be taken into consideration so far as our activities are also concerned. Man's dearest possession is life. Since it is given to him to live but once, he must so live as not to be seared up with a cowardly and trivial past, as the backward man, as the black man, as the untouchable, as a scavenger, or doing menial work, as a Sudra, in a larger sense, so far as Smritis and Manus are concerned. Miserable. Nehru says, man's dearest possession is life. Since it is given to him to live but once, he must so live. How to live the only life that you have been given? He must so live as not to be seared up with a cowardly and trivial past. So live, not to be tortured for years without purpose. How much tortures have been administered on the have-nots in this country, the so-called people belonging to the backward social background. Miserable. Humiliations. Not to be tortured without purpose. The dying, he can say, all my life and my strength have been imparted to the first cause of the world, the liberation of mankind. The liberation of mankind. Not only the liberating the mankind from the foreign rule or foreign yoke, but liberating him from the humiliation, liberating him from the backwardness of education, life, enjoyment, pleasure, whatever it is, liberating him from all diseases, liberating him from poverty, from illiteracy, like that, from all the ills that have gripped man. Say when you just die, I lived a life of, you must live like that, to say at the time of dying that all my life and my strength have been spent for the first cause of the world, the liberation of mankind. So we have all gathered here only with the hopes and aspirations and idea to get ourselves liberated from all those fetters which have been created from the society in those conditions which were unavoidable and which were not able to be averted. We got the freedom, and in spite of eminent personalities like Dr. Ambedkar in the pinnacle, the country is ruled by the law, no doubt about it. And Dr. Ambedkar, in spite of being the uppermost representative of the downgraded people, heading the Constituent Assembly as the chairman, and drafted the constituent bill and introduced the same, which has become the dogma or the Bible or the Quran or the Gita of India. In spite of his stubbornness, very strict attitude towards curbing the evil, and in spite of inserting so many things into the Constitution, giving protection for the backward people, how, by the interference of certain elements and even courts, social justice has been delayed to those who deserve, we know, is the history. And it continues still. Starting from the first amendment to the Constitution as a consequence to the judgment delivered by the Madras High Court in Champakam Durarajan versus State of Madras. And it was, I'll be called ungrateful if I don't mention at this juncture that it was Tandai E.V.R. Ramaswamy Periyar who came to the street and fought for putting down that judgment and filing intervening petitions in the Supreme Court, in spite of which it failed, as a result of which 44th Amendment had to be introduced, the First Amendment had to be introduced, and the rights were to be safeguarded. And like that, so many judgments and have been delivered, particularly by the Supreme Court. And the laws, in the context of the creation of laws at the various juncture, I would like to read a passage. The economic and social justice, besides political, is the important and enduring objective to be achieved. Reservation in favor of backward classes is surely one of the most effective ways of securing social justice. Opportunities to acquire power, knowledge and wealth were not equal in the Indian society, and the concept of equality, the founding fathers believed, had no meaning unless the right of every individual to be treated as an equal was recognized. The common belief that those with same ability and capacity should reach same position in life does not hold good in a society like ours, where the structure itself was based on inequality. The concept of distributive justice, commonly called social justice, was a compelling necessity for remedying the situation. The imperative function of the legal order to harmonize conflicting interests in individuals and classes of individually inevitable results in the law according protection in furtherance of social justice. Such differential measures aimed at upliftment of the society as a whole are not considered discriminatory. The welfare of the whole, it were realized, would ensure the welfare of the parts. The modern concept of rule of law also embraces social justice, with emphasis on the claim of every individual in the state to have access to the minimum material means. In our Constitution, the principles of social justice are found in parts 3, 4, 10, 16 and schedules 5 and 6 besides the preamble. Articles 14 to 16 incorporating the principles of equality also comprehend affirmative action in clause 4 of Article 15 and clause 4 of Article 16. Article 19 confers 6 fundamental freedoms concerning speech, assembly, association, movement, residence and profession. Article 19 as originally enacted provided for a 7th freedom, that is to acquire, hold and dispose of property, which has been struck down, deleted from the Constitution by 44th Amendment. Article 23 and 24 relate to right against exploitation and prohibition for forced labor and employment of children in factories. Article 25 to 28 speak to the right of freedom of religion, and Article 29 and 30 envisage protection of rights and interests of minorities. In Part 4, Directive Principles, Article 38 to 48 incorporate the principles for socio-economic transformation of the society. Specific mention need to be made of Article 46, which enjoins the state to promote the educational and economic interest of the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and the backward class. What I mean to say is, all these articles are designed, destined and introduced and is in vogue, open for being implemented for the weaker sections of the society. But how far in the last 64 years of independence we have achieved this goal is a big question that is to be answered. For every rule, our people, our rulers and our even educated circles, those who guide the rulers, have a knack of sidelining everything, postponing everything and neglecting even implementations. We know how many welfare measures that are being put forward by the government in different fields and how much funds are being allocated go without being utilized and diverted to different fields, leaving it again to go and flow to the hands of haves and without achieving the goal. So therefore, unless we are with full awakening and with full safeguard, and to agitate in order to get our due. It is very difficult to quell all these inequalities in the very even in the near future. So therefore, while acclaiming and praising the work, the good and noble work that is undertaken by this organization, and more than what it has already achieved in giving impetus to the ideas towards implementation, hoping in future to do in a better manner, for which we are all ready to lend a helping hand, and with such assurance, without wasting the time still more. Again, thanking all those, the President, the Secretary, the organizers of this function, and all those delegates who have given me this golden opportunity to be in your midst this morning. I just take leave of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Justice Kanak Raaj. After listening to both of our guests, I can say in one sentence, it was a big intellectual feast. And we hope that in coming days, whenever we require your expert support, will certainly like to avail that, so that our people are trained in a right manner. Sir, since this is a national organization, we had been studying various emancipators who had worked in different parts of the country, and we are spreading their work, their ideas amongst remaining part of the country where their work has not reached. In this connection, we had taken up the task of writing a small biography of all our social emancipators, and so that the message can be spread across the country. Today, we have one book with us to be released. We know that Ayatitas, who hails from Tamil Nadu, he has done a commendable work, but most of the people in this country, or to be more specific, I would say, in this movement and organization, also do not know much on Ayatitas. And hence, to cater this need, to fulfill this gap, we had come out with a small booklet on Ayatitas. I request our chief guest, Professor Nadeem Hasnain, to release this book.